Like if you just succeed beyond your wildest dreams in the next 5 years, what does that look like?
Yeah, I think it's
Ooh, baby, episode 65. I think that's the age you officially become a senior and can go and run your second act by launching a meme coin for your run-of-the-mill product that you trade on your past successes for to come out and launch. And then maybe I'll honestly just keep talking here if you don't think anything, Josh.
We need to onboard the retirement homes. I think you're right.
That's good.
I think you're right.
Retirement home. The retirement homes built for trench warriors of 2024, 2025 are
Fuck.
very, very man.
Kill me at 65 if that's where I'm going.
They're on the IVs at age 35 just to stay hydrated. All right. Well, I mean, as I said, leading into the conversation here today, Josh, busy week of insanity. I don't know if we expected it to slow down or even out, but it's just accelerating. So, no shortage.
Yeah, I feel like we're hitting some like singularity in token land where everything is fucking happening all at once. And I don't know, I'm just sitting here wondering what's next, honestly.
Hitting some bids lately, or are you because I found myself being like I caught the Trump thing and I was like,
I'm kind of chilling.
I've been literally stunned since Trump. I have not bought a token since that hit the market.
I bought a couple tokens, but
That's cool.
But no, I'm with you generally. Yeah.
No,
all right, so you got Josh off in his vacation home, has to lock himself in a room.
I wish.
Yeah,
I wish it was my vacation home.
Over. He's how we doing?
Extremely well. I have a dog on my lap, so all is well.
Yeah.
You know what? It sounds like you have a dog on your lap.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, we're excited show today. We have Austin from Doodles jumping on. My sense is that Doodles is about to do something pretty interesting, and I'm really excited to talk to him about this, like the shift from where they are to where they are today, and just this, I guess, cohort of NFT-based projects that have really reinvented themselves in the more modern era. So excited to see where that's going. We're going to talk jelly, which is, of course, this Gen X/Boomer trend of there's something more there. There's something a lot more there, but the way it came out is just adds to my consistent list of disappointing huge opportunities that are fumbled by people who don't get crypto. SocialFi is back. I hate it, but we're going to talk about it. Abstract. Well, it's kind of a follow-on from our Doodles conversation, and oh man, there's just so much else to get into today. So let's do it. Let's bring Austin up. Yeah, you knew there was going to be a background.
I knew we'd get a good background.
I was like, what is this going to be? How you doing, my man?
good. I want you to know I'm wearing my Noose Research shirt from last night because I saw that you guys were going to be talking about them. So they put on a great event with Solana here in New York.
Hard not to be excited about what they're cooking on.
I understand like 10% of it, but that's better.
That's why I put the topic at the bottom, because I was like, I don't know. I feel like we got to talk about it, but I don't know. Jelly is way more in my wheelhouse.
Same.
I like that you put Uni before above News Research here. Like that.
It goes from least technical to technical. That's the stack rank of this.
We rounded out with a lightning round that makes us feel smart eventually. Anyway, so it's all good. All right, man. Well, I mean, Doodles is one of these projects that everybody knows, but I bet you if I ask most people right now, they have no idea what the hell you're actually up to. I mean, or maybe I'm just speaking for myself.
Sure.
Clearly, you guys have been shipping a lot of interesting things have kind of dropped over the last little while. But can you maybe take us from before to now in a very high level way, and maybe just introduce what the latest from Doodles is?
Yeah, sure. Well, hello everyone on the internet. I'm Austin. I lead strategy and business development here at Doodles. For those who don't know, Doodles started as an NFT project in October of 2021. So one of the OGs from the 21 class, and quickly grew to being a transmedia storytelling IP company. So working with some of the biggest brands in the world, really using the palette to bring people into our world of storytelling. And last year, we had the fortunate opportunity to partner with brands like McDonald's, which I'm sure some people have heard of, being in 14,000 stores all across North America, 100 million cups distributed,
You got to remember, half of our listeners have worked there and will work there again soon. So
you know what's funny? I actually worked there for 3 years in high school. So I swear, I flipped burgers back in the day to pay.
You get that smell off your skin yet, or still?
It was so bad. Like you would like go home and couldn't eat it all weekend. But I had to pay for my Motorola Razr and Android Droid.
Fuck yeah.
Respect for sure.
But yeah, so that was a full circle moment working with McDonald's, Adidas, Crocs, G-Shock, the who's who in the last few years, and doing it in a way that was very organic to Web3.
I'm gonna jump in because I'm just super curious. What is like what are brands looking for from Doodles, and what's Doodles looking for from brands in those collaborations?
Yeah, 100%. It's definitely an equal exchange, right? A lot of these brands are struggling to reach their audiences. Like attention is so fragmented. You've got people mindlessly scrolling. And if it doesn't make them laugh, doesn't make them think, doesn't build like a really authentic connection, it just like goes completely over them. And so advertising, as we've known it, has like completely gone to the wayside. Everything is about influencer advertising, things that are organic, things that don't feel like advertising. And they see in Doodles not only a singular IP and something that's unique and fresh, but the community behind it. They see a very fervent community. We often actually, there's like a funny example of where I think the connection is. When we started working with Coil Ray on one of our songs that we released last year, she premiered it at Coachella. And we did a design of her doodle. It was like dancing in the background. It ended up blowing up. Our community obviously posted it like crazy. Complex took one of our media in community media TGID and ran their story on Complex. And Julian at the time got hit up by Koi's manager and was like, dude, how much did you pay for paid media on this? It's like, we didn't pay a single dollar. That's we don't that's the power of the community. Like when we did something with McDonald's, we had one of their largest campaigns of the entire year, and they literally just got done working with Kai Cenat and John Cena. So the engagement.
So are you guys looking for money back from that, or are you just looking for a higher level of awareness around Doodles as well?
It depends. I mean, we certainly we're kind of an end-to-end, not only the IP, but because we own Golden Wolf, we do all the creative. So traditionally how these deals work is, okay, great, you have an idea, you still need to go pay a third party to create the content, market it, do all these things. So those are services that we pay for, or we get paid for. But it's all dependent obviously on every deal looks different, but it is a very even value exchange. And obviously being getting the brand affinity and awareness of a McDonald's, that is priceless. So it's always about
on the cups. Let's go. Yeah, no, I think the creative agency tie-in to the community and the IP is the piece that was maybe missing for me there. So there's a well understood solid business underneath this.
Yeah,
that is sort of driving activity forward, and then there's sort of the social capital value of the brand that you guys are co-creating with your audience is represented in the 100%. Doodles IP. Yeah, cool. Okay. So, is that a good representation of your current strategy? My sense from some of your tweets and frankly, just from what people are saying, is that there are some new interesting things that you guys are pushing towards. Can you maybe give us an insight into what the next, say, 6 months looks like for Doodles?
Sure. Yeah. I mean, and I think in order to do that, you kind of have to look a little bit backwards. I joined the community before I joined the team, a year before. I joined the week of Mint, and a lot of the things that we would talk about in those early late night Discords or Twitter spaces was the idea of Doodles partnering with some of the biggest brands in the world and being side by side with them and growing this into a media powerhouse. And I think last year, 2024, we accomplished a lot of those dreams in a really, really short order. I mean, we released a film at Toronto Film Festival. We had Pharrell executive produce our entire soundtrack. We work with some of the biggest artists in the world, and obviously all the brand partnerships that I alluded to. And that has really allowed us to kind of open the door to Hollywood and entertainment. And where before we were knocking on their doors, often now we're getting that inbound. We don't have to prove that model anymore. Like we've proved it to the market, and that has kind of given us the freedom to this year really focus a lot on like how do we grow from the inside out. Like a lot of our focus last year was how do we get everyone else to pay attention on what's going on here, and now it is how do we build experiences that tie in what we want to do on product and creative, and these partnerships, and bring them in a very like crypto native, Web3 native way that's still appealing and will grow the pie. But instead of it being like, oh, I'm participating because I love the brand, but ultimately because I want them to be successful and I think other people will come in, it's I'm participating because I really enjoy this experience. I'm finding a lot of value out of like the different types of experiences that Doodles is creating. And so we just took a lot of learnings from last year of like what worked well and how to improve it, and how do we get more natives really excited about, Doodles as a Web3 native brand. And so it doesn't change, we're still doing the big brand partnerships, we're still doing the music, like all of those things are very core, but the execution of them is going to look very much more Web3 native than it has traditionally.
Awesome. I'm curious how you think about, your whatever 8,000 kind of core NFT holders fitting into this world. Like, I imagine they all, bought or hold for very different reasons. So probably like serving them holistically is probably pretty tough, but just curious how you think about them within this broad vision.
Yeah. I mean, I think of it broadly as like a community is a group of concentric circles. And so like at the very middle, like that's kind of like our OGs, those are our evangelists, those are our co-creators. Then as you go out, obviously their affinity with the brand is not as tight, but they're still, they love the brand, they want to participate. Maybe they're just like lurking and like looking at, what we're posting on socials and things like that. And our goal is really like, how do we super serve that core? Because that will then bleed out like outside of that. A lot of it is co-creation. Like we really believe in a lot of the stories that we're trying to tell is we take them 80% of the way there, and it's up to the community to take it across the finish line. And so the things that we bring into the world, we ultimately don't know what the finished product will look like until the community starts to interact with it. That's a lot of how we're thinking about like how OGs play into this, because for most of them that are like active on the timeline, they're not trying to be, passive bystanders and just like see the brand grow. Like they have a voice in that growth. They want to participate. They want to have part of the story. Like these are now people that, have become our friends. They're like very core to the brand success. They show up for us in a very meaningful way, and we want to show up for them.
Yeah, got it. And does that co-creation happen in Discord still, or are you like actively building out products that just makes that easier and has like the funnels built into it and blah blah blah?
Yeah, it's a huge focus broadly. Definitely some of it happening on Discord and on X. People just who are creative, whether they're creating threads or jumping on spaces, they're animating. We have a lot of creatives in our community, but additionally, we have a full creative suite in the Doodle Studio, which is our website. If you go to doodles.app, you can create your own avatar. You can start creating like different wearables. We're going to beef that up in a pretty meaningful way this year. We've alluded to some of those things of what that's going to look like. We're obviously very much paying attention to the meta. I kind of mentioned at the top of this where I was last night. So that can kind of like give you a sense of where a lot of those things are going, how we're thinking about creativity overall, and the tools that are at our disposal.
I love it. Yeah. We're seeing lots of decks with the remix plus AI angle. And yeah, I think it definitely makes a ton of sense when you have a big list of people who care and a dynamic set of IP that people actually want to remix. Seems like the hard part.
Yeah. And I was just going to say, like, to that end, there are so many people, like we changed our tagline lately from color the world to color the world with joy to make something. And a lot of people see that and they're like, well, how do I make something? Like, I'm not creative. I don't write threads. Like, how can I create? And I think the power of AI is like, we're going to get to a place. We are already at a place where it's like text-based prompt. You can create an entire universe, having these like agents.
My AI agent is still
for you.
Dumber than.
I was gonna say, how's it? I tried.
Dumber and less creative than me, but
it's so funny. I took like Shaw's dev school a couple of weeks ago, just like on YouTube, and I have like very minimal coding experience, but I was like on Cursor trying to build an agent for my pickle, and I don't know what I did wrong because everyone else on the team could figure it out, and they like looked at my
No, it's definitely
my
not a skill
instance,
issue.
but
Don't
definitely not a
fall
skill
to that
issue.
psyop. That's
Thank you. I appreciate that.
all right. I'm, I've been following, at C Club, our core belief from day one was that most of the value in tokens was social capital, not fundamental or financial capital. And so, we've been intrigued by that the mechanisms that we have to convert that social capital into financial capital are very fleeting and not super enduring, right? Mm-hmm. So we see pump and dumps, whatever, and half of our docket today is kind of a conversation on that. So like how do we go using sort of these crypto mechanisms to more faithfully and enduringly convert that social capital into tangible value somewhere else? And so looking at NFTs, I think very much a similar vibe we're in today, right? Very easy to create. Everybody saw the opportunity, huge speculative value. That speculative value really led to certain projects really dominating, capturing a ton of attention. Mm-hmm. There's probably a handful that people know from that time period. And then, of course, like 99% of those projects failed. And the ones that are enduring have sort of reinvented themselves in some way. And I think the sort of most common path we're seeing sort of projects from, I guess, the Doodles era move into is this like launch your own chain, have that be the home of your IP. And it's sort of, in my mind, the search for that enduring revenue or value.
Right.
And I guess there's some belief that sequencer fees will be that, though I think that's maybe a big open question. And so we're seeing, clearly Pudgy Penguins created a ton of value in sort of their meme coin launch and then Abstract and all this sort of stuff. And so it seems as if you guys are taking a bit of like a separate tack in this, at least. I'm curious, like, did you guys sort of look at that model? Is that a model you're considering? Or how are you, like, maybe if you could just simply articulate how you, like, what is the strategic approach to solve that longevity issue that I think anybody who has a token at their core ultimately has to battle against?
Yeah, man, there's a bunch of different ways to slice this. I would say one to the chain question. Like we 2 years ago all sat in a room like as a leadership team reviewing the Delphi Digital like end of year report at the time, and they called it to a T that like we were going to see the proliferation of app specific chains come out, and so it wasn't a surprise to us to see all of these play out. The question that we had to ask ourselves is like, were we uniquely positioned to deliver on a chain at this moment, or did we want to focus on the development and proliferation of the IP? And once we brought in a mass amount of people, then we could explore bringing other IPs into it, developing a full chain and things like that. And so for us, it was sequencing. Like we haven't closed the door to that at all. We just wanted to make sure that like we have done the necessary foundational groundwork for a chain to make sense. We're very fortunate to have like phenomenal partners in Base. There are plenty of plenty of chains that work really well for what we're trying to execute right now. But that is definitely in terms of value accrual, being able to collect those sequencer fees. Something that we could see in the future where we're not blind to that, particularly when I think all of these chains get abstracted away at the end of the day. I think that's the hope that we all have. The interesting thing on like NFTs versus fungible tokens, and I'm glad you guys are talking about this right now because the meta is just like everyone's, I think, exhausted. Like the meme meta has gone so fast to like if you don't get in the first few hours, it's going to zero because there's nothing like of enduring value. And you could ask the question of like, did Melania play into that? I tend to think that it did. I think people were pretty hyped on Trump, but the second Melania came out, it was like, okay, this is like a different
ruined the TL.
I think it did. I really think it did. But these things happen in cycles, and I think some of them will have enduring potential memetically. I think that's what's really interesting for me with IP. Oh God, with IPs, what a hat. With IPs that have launched tokens, you can actually take a bet on the memetic value of that attention, right? Like a lot of these things is okay, they come and go and the news cycle moves on. But like the whole promise of IP is that it is a constant attention engine and that you have teams that are building to proliferate that IP. That's a thesis that I think endures for a long time, even if, it goes up and down. And then the NFTs, I still think like the core value prop of digital collectibles makes a lot of sense. We see it in trading cards, we see it in other places, but the time that it takes to develop that value is measured on years and decades, not days like we see. And like the space just isn't patient enough for that yet. So I do think that we'll look out a few years from now and see, oh, wait, the same collections that have endured have the highest floor prices, have the most fervent communities. That I think that will endure. But in the day-to-day of like, what have you done for me lately? It's not a great way of losslessly capturing that attention of the timeline and what people are looking for. And I think fungibles are a much better way of doing that.
Yeah, I think that's fascinating. I guess big news out of the Doodles world this week is that Burnt Toast is returning as CEO. To me, the most bearish thing for a crypto project is when like the founder steps away, and the most bullish thing is when they're coming into CTO, the own thing that they've launched. I'm just curious what I'm assuming that it's exciting for Burnt Toast to come back. I'm assuming he also wasn't all that gone, but I'm curious, like what does this sort of leadership change mean for you guys and for the sort of future of the community?
Yeah, we've been calling it BTO internally, which is great, and that's BT's saying. But he didn't step away. First and foremost, like he's been part of the journey every step of the way. He's a co-founder that has led the entire creative vision of Doodles. There's like nothing creatively, artistically that gets out of our company without him looking at it, refining it, giving suggestions. And to that point, like he was a core executive in every decision that we've made as a company. So it's not like he was on the sidelines and came back. It was more of just we're expanding. Obviously, he's expanding his remit. I mean, first and foremost, absolutely everyone, like we ended on great terms with Julian, have a lot of love and respect for him. He's a major reason that I joined Doodles to begin with, and I have a great personal relationship with him. And really, we owe a debt of gratitude to this big executive from the Web2 world that took a bet on Doodles at a time where like the space was going to shit. Like everyone, like celebrities were leaving. It was bear market vibes. No one wanted to partner. He helped lay the groundwork and give a level of professionalism and trust at a time where everyone was having a really hard time breaking out of our echo chamber. And we're still on great terms, and he's still a huge advocate of Doodles, and so we're really thankful for that. I think with Burnt Toast, we're just very excited about having him fully at the helm. He's proven to be obviously like a creative genius, and I don't throw that word out lightly. I truly mean that. But also a like level of humility and a leader that I don't think I've ever come across. And I think this happens a lot with creatives, but he has a very beginner's mindset to his approach, which is like he comes in wanting to learn, strong opinions loosely held. We make decisions as a team. He like trusts people to have domain expertise. It's been a really fun collaborative work environment internally. And I think you see that externally with just like how we are on the timeline, how people feel they can be their authentic selves. Like it comes from the top down. And so it's been a pleasure to work with him.
Amazing.
Nice. Yeah, maybe
one last question.
One more before we let you go. I'm curious how you guys think about the like big audacious vision for Doodles. Like if you just succeed beyond your wildest dreams in the next 5 years, what does that look like?
Yeah, I think it's ubiquity. I think it's Doodles being pervasive in culture in ways that like people don't even realize that it's Doodles sometimes. Where you don't have to like think about it. It just kind of exists. And so obviously that means doubling down on narrative storytelling, being beyond any single vertical. It doesn't, to us, it's not like a get a Netflix show, do a movie, it's not like a singular thing. It is, we collectively have crossed the chasm to mainstream adoption and permeated culture in a way where it doesn't feel that we're speaking at them, but we're like a part of it in a meaningful way. So that's kind of the vision. And as part of that, just having the community at the core of it, like we can't do it without them. It's really not lip service. Like we don't get anything last year without them. We won't get anything in the future without them. Like really leaning in, being evangelists for the brand and showing that like this isn't just a storytelling company. Like it's a community. It's a borderline cult. Like it's people really leaned in and being in this club together.
Awesome. My last question, which is, I know what everybody's thinking, so I'm going to have to ask it. When token?
You're not going to get me fired.
Okay.
I'm not going to directly answer that.
You're not going to say something you're not allowed to say, but I think in your answer alone, I think there's some insight in there. So
yeah, just listen to what I just said.
Yeah.
And like, we're going to be very active on the timeline. I think everyone should tune in to NFT Paris. We've got a few talks that we're doing there. We have a few events that we're doing there. We'll be at ETH Denver. We're going to be very active. You're going to see a lot of us.
Amazing, man. Well, appreciate you hopping on. Good luck out there as you sort of move towards this uncertain, well, I mean, clear, but I'm interested in the things that were unsaid here and what you're sharing, and I'm excited to see those come out into the world. I know you guys are working hard on it, so best of luck with that, and maybe come back on once you've announced the next big thing.
Let's do it. Anytime. Thanks for having me, guys. Brother.
Cheers.
Peace.
I think so. What I find interesting there is I think we have an example of really traditional boring business. I mean, it's not that boring. They're doing creative work, etc. And crypto plus community, coming together. And that real boring business is really important because it's not reliant on the consistent selling of new tokens and like the dilution of the core thing, while also allowing a core team to continue to cook. I mean, I think, they're obviously at a different scale than, most early stage teams that are doing this, but I think we'll see much more of that going forward. Like this, I mean, the most obvious place is just in brands generally. And, I think we have enough report codes and continue to see deals that are sort of running at this sort of remix and co-ownership of brands, et cetera. It feels to me like how Doodles has come about it is more likely the way that it comes about, which is you kind of do something that does catch on, that then allows you to go have, an advantage in a more traditional business. And I guess in some ways you can think of Seed Club like that, right? Where we have...
I mean, it's just like full stack brand opportunity, right? That we've been excited by and talking about. It's like brands are the new religions, but still most of them are just selling clothes. So like, what is the actual brand of the future where they are sources of belonging and social contexts, and like what are the crypto unlocks that kind of enable that? And I think I like that we have a bunch of different experiments playing out in the wild that are running at different angles. Like I think the way, to your point, the way Abstract is, or Igloo or Pudgy's or whatever is running at this is very different than the way these guys are running at it. Different than the way Slow Rodeo or any of these other people are running at it. But like the end vision is this like big full stack brand world that is people want to be a part of, are kind of finding identity in and creating value in a ton of different ways.
Over indexing on like the attention side of that game and then under indexing on like the mechanism or like the business side of it, I think just generally. Like what's the first franchise consumer product that goes out and acquires, like, I don't know, like there's like a fast food joint that could launch with a meme community that could go take over. Like they just seems like mishmashes of boring ass traditional businesses with like a rabid community fan base that helps that business.
I mean, it's like
lots of money.
The Bored Apes like tried shit like that. It was largely just cringe, but
it has to be done in an integrated,
right? Not just like way. This dude is launching a burger joint in Venice or whatever and slapping it in on it.
So cool. Jelly.
Nice. Jelly. All right, let's get into it. I think we should have like a massive dump of tweets kind of related to this topic that I think would be
set it up first before we
fun to run through. We'll set it up. So I guess everyone probably knows what happened with Jelly this week.
This piece you'll be able to see this guy does a good intro.
So really what happened is, I guess an ex-founder of Venmo is creating a new social product. Largely the social product is basically short form conversations. I think kind of position it as like podcasts without all the heavy lifting of podcasting. So Jess, I could basically like call you, we could record a 10-second chat. I think AI is integrated in, so you get subtitles and kind of some like easy creative tools, and it's really easy to just like publish that anywhere. So building this consumer product obviously, needs a bunch of attention, needs to bootstrap network effects. And largely it seems like they launched this Jelly token as a way, really as like a viral marketing stunt more than anything. So the way it came out was Sam Lesson, investor with a big audience, has, been active building in tech for a long time, just tweeted it, looked like a scam to me, ended up not being a scam. But I think what's interesting is the way they like it's not it was very obviously not a jelly token. It was like a kind of memetically connected token to this thing that they were building. So it was pretty obvious immediately that it wasn't the token. It was a way to just kind of like get a ton of attention liquidity or kind of get this jelly brand name out there really, really quickly. And I think within I don't know, a couple hours, this thing went to 260 million market cap. You know, within probably 10 minutes, everyone in crypto Twitter had the name Jelly in their head. So it was like clearly wildly effective at generating attention. Everyone, I think, I don't know the number, but tons of people were on the spaces they hosted. Casey Neistat was talking on it. So like as a viral marketing tactic, it was really, really effective. I think obviously the price has just been dumping since. So I think a lot of people are asking what's next. I think there's not a lot of, I think like maybe the product's token gated or something for holders, but there's not a lot of kind of clarity on if this is actually going to be a piece of the product or if this truly was just this like ephemeral viral marketing tactic or if there's some kind of longer plan here. But that's kind of where we're at right now.
I have to say, in the video, he said jelly because it's better than jam. And I would like the record to show that jelly is not better than jam.
Dude, so
jam fucking rocks, dude.
Yeah. But the only reason you don't do jelly is if you don't have a gallbladder and you can't eat the seeds. At least that's what my Nana told me.
Okay, respect to Nana. We came in pumping grandma's bags, so let's keep it up.
I mean, so man, I've been trying to pull my thoughts apart here. I think you know, on one hand, I think this is really fucking cool, right? Like this idea that, and the way I've kind of been thinking about it is that you kind of have, you know, in the traditional equity company, you have like the stock or the equity value capture both the cash flows and the traditional their fundamental value plus whatever intangibles. So whether that's the insights, it's your brand, that's the goodwill, etc. And when you go public, you take all of that public. And I think what we're seeing now is that those two things are separate. There is sort of like the social capital raise that you can go do, and there's this other more traditional business you can do. And it's, you know, we're talking about Doodles, it's the IP, and then it's the creative studio behind it, sort of thing. And so, and I think Trump is the prime example of this, right? So Trump has his own stock, he's got his own things going on, and then, you know, the Trump token really represents the social capital side of things. So I think this idea that there are two types of assets there and that you can take one public before or use one in different ways than the other, I think is transformative and fascinating. And I think, you know, doing it for early projects where you're actually truly just speculating on the future social capital of this thing, I don't know, I think that's a big idea, and really for builders, I think should be like an interesting thread to really pull on. The challenge is we're still, you know, suffer the dynamics of tokens and of the crypto market and of, you know, wild inflated expectations and the struggles of dealing with the challenges that inevitably come when the token price falls and drops. And so it feels like we're still on this like, oh, social capital can be represented in token space. Let's go do this a million times. And we haven't learned the lessons from those that have come before. And I think, you know, what is interesting is to look at those projects that were sort of popular or excited, or people were excited about in this last bull market, and see what they're doing right now, because that is what the future of this sort of current era is going to look like. It's how do we go from we have this attention and early interest to sustaining that over some longer time horizon. And unfortunately, with so many of these things, the decisions you make at day one have an impact on that. And so I think, you know, this tweet that you had up your piece just below this one, I think is really good. So he's basically saying these guys have gone public using tokens, and Gordo here is saying there's no raising money that's happening in the traditional sense. It's raising attention liquidity. And then with Jelly, that attention liquidity will be used to bootstrap the use of the product. Certainly people might choose to raise money this way, but yada, yada. So, you know, launching a token on Pumped Up Fund, not a great way to go raise money for your project unless you're in this sensational sniper, but even that has a bunch of challenges to it. So I think we're still in this like, great, social capital can be converted into financial capital to go build the future, but how do you go do that sustainably over the long term? And
100%.
None of all of these are like great opportunities to introduce something a little bit more, have your own opinion on something. All of them failed to go do it. All of them are underestimating the challenge of sort of stepping into this. And I think, you know, we had the Dave Portnoy video last week where he's talking about launching a meme coin. He's talking about it again this week.
Joe Rogan's talking about it.
Joe Rogan's talking about it. John's just, you know, build distribution, tease for product credibility, yada, yada.
Yeah.
And so all these things are great and exciting, but the models that are being used right now are just they're so short term.
Well, I also think the intention that you put these things out with matters a lot, and I think this was clearly a viral marketing tactic to me, and not, oh, I see this big opportunity to go build this world that people really want to be a part of, and I can capture the social and cultural value of that world and reward people by having a token. Like that very clearly wasn't that. Like, they're building a sterile Web 2 product. It's not crypto in any way. There's no transaction fees. There's no protocol. Like, there's none of this stuff that can actually really effectively drive enduring value to a token. Obviously, they could do that, but I think the intention and of the starting point matters a lot. And I think this was not, I think, what our like long-term belief and excitement in
Sure,
tokens is.
I think I would argue that it's even underestimating the downsides in the short term.
Yeah.
Here in a way, like I think Sam's got a bunch of pushback on it. You know, so yeah, I think again, I agree that it's a viral moment, and it probably worked out very well for them. I
wonder.
I don't know.
Yeah,
I don't know how to feel about it, but I do think there's a real opportunity here, right? Like there is this whole sort of gap opening up in the world where people want to come and be a part of like the betting on your future vision, whatever that is. And you know, I think that again, the biggest issue right now is that it is so short term in its market structure, in the token structures, etc. But I don't know if there are better options, right? I think that's the challenge.
We deserve better psyops. That's just it. Like, I mean, I think these guys are not great posters, and I think that there are people who are better at posting on the internet who will do this better. And hopefully they're also better at just understanding how to drive value to token holders better as well. But I think it's to say, like, yeah, it's tough. This was not a great post. Token.
Well, I think we're entering the era of real value distribution. So that should be the most bullish part about anybody's timeline right now. And you know, the experimentation and excitement around the attention building is, you know, I think just one part of the equation, and we're going to step into people trying to return. I mean, we're seeing teams to be very public about buybacks right now. We're seeing, you know, rewards tokens be dropped. That's pretty good here. Jelly's a cautionary tale. There's an elite class, mostly New York and Silicon Valley, that see crypto solely as a way to extract. They're completely out of touch with regular people. They dress it up in fancy terms and play the perception game well, but they have no honor. True losers. It's on us as an industry to call out and help the average person level up.
I also don't really think that's what they were like. I don't think this was like, oh, we're going to get a bunch of attention and extract a ton of value. I think
sure. No, but I mean, I would say like that is the way that I could characterize a viral marketing campaign done in this way. You know,
sure.
And it's maybe it's not like I'm gonna go.
I mean, I guess if Sam starts dumping and whatever, I think easier to judge that. I think
if you do not have a game plan for your token and you launch a token and then you're like, oh, I'm new here, I don't really know what's going on. It's kind of, I mean, it's not the best look. Like it's just it's.
No, for sure.
And I think that's the thing. Like, people do not need a whole lot of reason. There are very many reasons to go out and be like, "You're a fucking scammer."
Yeah, and I think this combo was good too. I think open up what Vance was saying. So just talk about like, you know, startup tokens, and saying startups are a euphemism for utility tokens versus memes. Problem initially is selection bias of low quality startup tokens. Most founders that want liquidity, these tokens mostly go to zero, but the market is now thinking about what utility means, a world beyond memes. People then ask which on-chain startups generate fees, have buybacks, large TAMs, growth that is sticky in the future. Market realizes that it doesn't want the coins you're selling, it wants the ones that are being bought back. Sometimes the meta writes itself. And
well said.
Agree. I think that then they get into someone asks, you know, some good questions around the challenges around it, and they have a good back and forth. But I think we're kind of hitting this like singularity moment with tokens where there's an infinite fucking supply of them. The metas are shorter and shorter. The rotation game is faster and faster, and people are looking for something of like real value to hang their hat on. And starting to feel a hint of things that do have some fundamental value, or at least you can like project a bit into the future and be like, okay, this is going to matter. This isn't just this this isn't going to last for 4 days.
I think the problem for most of these infra and utility tokens is that they aren't interesting and they can't solve for the attention side of it. And so I think the wrong take from this is what I've been going at Brian Flynn quite a bit, is thinking that this attention and meme game is over or will be over at some point. It'll be replaced by tokens that are valued fundamentally. And I don't believe that. I think it's going to be both. You need a big adventure, something people want to be a part of. And then you need to give those folks some sense of value accrual over time so that they're big believers long-term rather than just short-term punters.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I love it. I love it. Our thesis continues to be proved out, and I wish we could make more progress on like the enduring long-term value, but I mean, the reality is we just weren't able to lean into the edges that we've wanted to pursue that efficiently.
Yeah.
Until now. Oh, but
were there any other tweets in here?
I mean, there's so many tweets. There's more links in this section than
I know. I went crazy, but there was a lot of just good discourse around it.
No, there is. Yeah.
Make speculation a keystone of user experience. Soon make ownership a keystone of the user experience. Yeah. What else we got?
Pull up Nikita's.
Yeah.
He tweeted this like just. I think it was the last. It was the last one I
saw that one.
Oh, maybe you didn't.
Okay.
He's been exploring launching a token, and I think he articulated the core issue very well this morning.
What did he say?
That top one there. Yeah, so the backlash is hilarious to watch. Excluding Trump, every single meme coin launch in the last year has gone to zero. Like, what do people expect to happen? Until the platform figures out how to make meme coins a genuine measure of a topic's future relevance, this pattern will repeat 100% of the time. And then I think his reply to this is, and then obviously everyone was like, when CA. And he was like, Peace, can you go to his reply after you post this?
Hold on, he's cooking.
He wrote, no, go up.
Right.
He wrote, the arbitrage should not be about getting access to the instrument early, but by having a contrarian insight about a topic or person's future relevance. And we've had this conversation with teams who have actually gone like slightly broader market than just CT. And they're like, most people actually aren't interested in these be early games. You know, be lucky games have a much larger TAM. Be right games have a much larger TAM. But this like be early game is really this like kind of culty thing of CT that we obviously love playing. But I think a lot of people in crypto want to believe that the TAM of people who want to play be early games is much larger than it actually is.
Yeah, and people are like, oh, there's so many tokens, and these things pump and dump so much faster than before. Yes, that's because people are pushing the be early game meta to its inevitable irrelevance.
Yeah,
full irrelevance.
I don't think it's going anywhere. I mean, I do think watching this, like, 6 months ago, there's this like blue chip meme thesis, like Murad's thesis, and it was kind of easy to buy at the time. And in today's world, it's just like much harder to see. It's like the people who want to buy memes also want to play be early games. They want to fucking trade. They're gonna rotate themselves to fucking death. So this like enduring value of meme, obviously, like, some are gonna break out. Doge has been around for fucking ever, but I think
it's like writing a hit song, right? You could work your entire career being a talented musician and never have a hit song, and some other people do, right? Like
I don't know. I mean, I think Murad was right. I think Murad actually has a great list of early believers, and I think there are people who just were players of the game already who are rotating back into those coins, never selling those coins. Like,
maybe a few of them.
Yeah,
maybe a few of them.
Yeah. I mean, I'm saying that because I was around in 2023 and I thought all those coins were good then, and I'm still up bigly on them. So when I hear people say like those coins are down, and like, I don't know what you're talking about, man. Like that, those coins.
I think the ones you're talking about are much more of a cult. Like, you're talking about like Bitcoin, SPX.
Yeah.
I think the like new wave of them didn't have enough time, I don't think, to have like real cult formation, and just actually had
difference.
That for sure.
The difference is just time. Like, and we just have to live it out with all these things.
We
do have to live out through another SocialFi era. Is that
we have to live out 100 SocialFi cycles.
What are we on right now? 7?
I don't know.
Yeah.
I shouldn't be so bearish on this.
Actually, maybe last. Do you have Vance's other tweet about crime season being over? Because I just want Jess to comment on this because he retweeted it and shared it. Sorry, I fucking loaded you up today.
No, it's okay. I didn't know it could go that far. Let's see. Here we go.
Yeah, this one. Yeah, Jess, you want to?
Before, but my view is that crime season is over. Thankfully, 3 reasons: there are diminishing returns to marginal crime. Market structure regulation is coming, and today versus the past, there's actually a ton of GDP on chain that can be harnessed to build gigantic businesses. The reward for building a non-crime, non-fake business is hugely, I'm assuming, underestimated. We'll see. Again, I mean, I retweeted this because I think that people should be thinking through business models and revenue and fundamentals as part of their adventure, big vision around launching their tokens. And I think, the default over the last week has been like, oh, we can just go do crime, which, is like, we can launch any tokens and people don't care, people bid them up and yada, yada. And I think, it's more of just a follow-on to everything we said here. I think there's, a bunch of attention games that'll still matter, but how do you break out of just the pure, narrative loop that you're in right now and build a compounding business over time? And I think he's right. There's a lot more. I mean, the 2 points that are relevant here is there's a ton of money on chain. It's growing. And, right now there are no rules to go play. There will be rules soon. And we can be hopeful those rules create good opportunities for folks still. I think, seems more likely now than in the last administration. But a lot of the shit that is being done right now, hopefully will be addressed, right? Like with reporting, transparency, etc. around it. Now, I don't.
I mean, his last line in the second point is like a scary proposition where he said, "I honestly don't know how you can launch coins without filing regulatory documents once this is in place." But it's an open question like that.
Well, I mean, I think meme coins aren't going to need those sort of things, right? So I don't think we're going to see a slowdown of it. But I think, in my optimistic view here, a pathway for forming capital using tokens, bringing some more trust and clarity to token holders around insiders, etc., and being able to issue tokens that are seen as decentralized over a treasury or over a protocol. I think that's a big unlock, and it definitely will raise the bar for a lot of folks. And I guess the fear is that regulation is used by incumbents to lock new folks out, and so there's a lot of ways this goes wrong. But I think knowing who's launched tokens, where they're going, what the rules are there, and having an even playing field for folks. Because I mean, embedded in this is the idea that crime is more valuable because you'll have a lower regulatory burden, huge upside opportunity, and there's a lot of money on the table right now. I think regulation changes that in some way, and hopefully for the better. But I mean, I'm not naive enough to think that it'll be all great.
I mean, when I read this, the regulatory documents required for meme coins is tax filing. And the question that really comes up for me, actually, like when it comes to a platform and asset issuance, if you create a coin on Pump Fund, who owes the taxes, you or Pump Fund? Because their contracts are the ones who are issuing the. I don't know. Yeah, if I should be probably recommend no more questions like this for the good of our industry, but.
I think tax paying is like the core. Like, I think you should hold that as like the core component of any regulation in the United States. How can they go get taxes? What's the appropriate tax? What's the most efficient way to go get taxes? And so you look at what the Trump token structure looks like. It looks very much like they will be paying taxes on the value they're receiving back from that smart contract. So it's bearish, the Trump token, as far as I'm concerned, if they're going to sell to pay taxes. So a whole other level here. But if you look at the DUNA legislation and sort of structuring, again, that is a way for DAOs to go pay taxes. And so I think, if crypto regulation comes to the United States to enable the growth of that industry, it is going to be around, being around how much new tax revenue can come in ultimately, or at least that'll be a core of it in my mind. So in that world, Pump.Fun, if it's a US based company, would pay taxes on its revenue, and then you would go pay taxes on any money you make. And I'm not an accountant, so don't trust anything I just said. We move on to another.
Let's jump to SocialFi.
Nice.
No, I mean, that was
just one more SocialFi cycle.
Yeah, I think we're seeing a bunch of the old SocialFi ideas come back. So just wanted to get your guys' takes on the new forms that they're taking. If it's reignited any interest in it, or if SocialFi as a concept is still just fucking cooked. So I think the 4 projects that kind of service here, one was Clout. So I think we all know Clout, but really it's basically just a throwback to the Rally and earlier like social token days where people are tokenizing themselves, but they're really removing all of the like utility kind of stuff that the social tokens of the previous cycles are often packaged with, like whatever, getting access to events or like booking time with people or being able to use them to buy merch, and it's purely just tokenizing people. I think I just continue thinking that it's like one of the least interesting applications of tokens that you could possibly do in my mind. But I mean, I like that people are trying it. I think like the idea of reputation markets is kind of interesting. I don't know if this is the right way to do it, but I don't know. We have people are running at social tokens again.
I mean, the challenge with this is like they're interesting because they're new speculative games to go play, and they're not interesting as soon as those speculative games are no longer interesting.
Yeah,
I would say that's what the friend tech dynamic was. And so, again, this is the same theme we've talked about all day long here. You're going to go launch tokens. Yeah. They are the most interesting from 0 to whatever they run up to, and they become far less interesting after that for the vast majority of them. And I think like there's just so many issues with tokenizing yourself and the dynamics that come along with that. And it's just, I mean, we've been down this path. We have exploring social tokens in 2020. I had a seat at the table of all those other experiments. And I don't know, I consider it a tar pit idea. Ultimately, I think it's just a thing that, and it's worse than that because tar pit ideas are things that maybe seem good and are like great opportunities and are obvious, but when you get into the details, they're not. And entrepreneurs continue to come up and try to go after them, and they continue to get stuck in the tar. This one gives you a sense of success because if you design a good speculative game, people are going to come play it for a period of time and capitalize on that. So I think I'm looking at this category. I think Yapster is the actual most interesting one in this category. I wouldn't call it SocialFi. I don't call anything SocialFi unless I'm kind of negative on it. Yeah, I just think it's a shitty. I mean, crypto SocialFi is maybe my one-liner there. But Yapster, I think these like creating social context for people to come together, co-create, and direct attention at a token launch.
Agreed.
Feels much more expansive, more fun. It's you're still launching tokens, so you have a really great business model there. It's not tied to the ongoing efforts of an individual or of that individual's ability to drive value in their chat room, etc. And it solves for the biggest issue, which is like there are too many tokens. How do we know one is going to have a bunch of attention around it? Okay, well, we'll design a game that is focused on that. That feels very different from Cloud, very different from I mean, there's a bunch of others, some on base, etc. And I don't know, maybe we get to a place where people's reputation, is traded on reputation markets, like Accelerando, like I believe.
I mean, Ethos. Peace, you want to open up Ethos? I added them too. So it's a new like reputation market on base, and it's built more on like prediction market primitives than like social token primitives. So you can buy the like trust or distrust side of the market. They also have some cool features. I think they have like an Ethos agent where you can tag it on any tweet and like put that tweet on chain, so it like preserves it. So if someone predicts something that they're going to go delete, you can actually put that on chain, so it gets like attached to that person's profile. So I think they're actually running at it in a pretty interesting way.
Well, it feels like if you run at it purely from like launching tokens, you're definitely not going to get to a useful reputation market. Maybe have an attention market around that. So I haven't played around with Ethos, but running at it from an indirect way, I think is super interesting. And then I don't know. I think one thing we talk about quite a bit is just the talent gap in crypto, and maybe I just not say talent in this case. I would just say like innovation or vision gap here. Like it's you push back on me well, because I think at some point I was saying, C Club's positioned well to go index the consumer crypto market. And you're like, that's not what we're doing. We're not trying to index the market. And I think, the pursuit of new novel ideas that are taking lessons from the past, but reinventing them in some way, I think is a huge opportunity in crypto. And yet I think we see people getting stuck in just reinventing or reskinning old ideas without
100%.
taking the lessons, without the insight that solves the major issues with those core ideas.
Yeah.
And so, there are, and listen, I think with all these things, they're one or two sort of innovations or insights away from new markets. So I'm happy that they're all running at it, but it's just very difficult for me to get excited about these little bitty proprietary social games when the entirety of crypto is this ultimately. And people will just go to the game that is most interesting at that time period and then be gone when there's another more interesting game around. So
yeah,
but man, I think the interesting thing here is like, I think one SocialFi app and you're putting your entire heartbeats into that, I think you might have a bad time. But if you're like, we're just going to continue to invent SocialFi apps,
right,
that's probably a pretty good business, right? Because these things can just print cash, absolutely print cash in a very short period of time.
I mean, that's always what I thought FriendTech should have done, right? They launched SteelCam, went crazy, lasted a month, people got bored. Then they launched FriendTech, went crazy, lasted a month, people got bored. But then they got stuck on that idea and launched V2, whatever, low effort V2. But, they kind of went heads down on that for 6 months instead of, I think what they should have done is just pack that up and done it again.
Yeah.
Let that thing last for a month. And you're just continuing to like store this value in like, the Racer brand, the FriendTech brand, maybe you have a token that kind of, follows along in all these SocialFi experiments. So yeah,
it's not
I agree.
Too late, Racer. If you're out there, we miss you. We want you back. It's not too late.
I think it might be too late.
Yeah.
Well, we have.
I don't know. Yeah. Yeah. I don't know. I miss his tweets.
I mean, I'm still shocked that the crypto focused mischief has not actually been properly done yet.
Yeah.
I'm not shocked.
You're not shocked?
Well, there's no other mischief that's been done.
Whatever. Not like cookie cutter mischief, but just someone really leaning into like consistent ephemeral drops with the right brand and business model to kind of compound value alongside all of these like the like ephemeral usage of these things.
That's like paradigm basically is the crypto mischief. Frankly.
Well, I mean, I love that. Yeah, the best business model for crypto mischief is VC.
It's like novel token drops. Anyway, that's a slight reframing of what we were talking about.
How the fuck have we got through 3 topics?
Okay, let's go to abstract. Let's go to abstract quickly, because I think they went to mainnet this week, launched a like a portal or gateway or like app store, whatever you want to call it, for their chain in like a pretty novel way. I think it was it combined the wallet, rewards, trading. I think has streaming integrated, has some like app discovery mechanisms integrated, and largely like I think people were shitting on it and fudding it. And I think what people are missing is like this isn't built for us. Like this is being built for the person who isn't fucking hanging out on crypto Twitter all day and is maybe like loosely interested or open to crypto or just likes the Pudgy brands and just wants to like an easy way to plug into that world. And I think largely we're like crypto Twitter, we've like internalized, or things have become so intuitive to us that we're missing the really easy opportunities to actually just like package things and distribute them in the right ways that'll actually just like, DeFi, just tokens, like a lot of these like just very basic concepts, I think packaged in the right way can feel like fucking magic to the rest of the world. And we're just, I don't know, continue playing our weird fucking games speculative games that we just get obsessed with.
I mean, I think this is like there's like, I mean, if you're building for the last 2 years, it was very hard to see where the next market would come from. Like we're right. And so that's why you've seen so many people really index on the trenches as like the opportunity to sell tokens or to issue products to, et cetera. And I think, in a bunch of our conversations, it's sort of like, what is this next market that's driven by this, broader acceptability of crypto, Trump, yada, yada. And I think it's tough because we haven't seen a product go and land super successfully there, but it's inevitable. Somebody will go do it. And I think it's much more of a compelling category or segment or persona to go after today than 3 weeks ago. But there's a bit of a question in my mind, which is like, how big is that market and what do they ultimately want? And is that in line with your own L2? We'll see. I think the integration of streaming and sort of like the rewards that go from it, absolutely genius. My fundamental issue with this strategy generally is, you really need you need to go build an ecosystem. You need to have people come and build on your network. And right now they've done a great job of getting a lot of things built on it, but they weren't built for Abstract, for the Pudgy community to start with. And so, the real test of this will be like, do people really want to go and build and distribute on Abstract? Is there actually a group of users and people that are big enough to go do this when it's going to struggle with liquidity? It's going to struggle with, the infrastructure. It's going to struggle with all these things. Now, great team. I love this experiment being run, etc.
I agree. I think they're at risk of just getting lost in like the messy middle between mainstream and crypto Twitter, because that's very much what it feels like right now.
Yeah, and it's like maybe not quite far enough, but I don't know what far enough would be right now, and so this is probably the right next step. I mean, a million different tokens flying around too. I mean, the Pudgy NFT has sort of fallen off quite a bit over the last little while. Tokens kind of doing its thing, kind of pumping along. I don't know. Do we get an Abstract token? I don't even follow this yet. Do we have?
I don't know. ETH is a gas token. I assume there's an Abstract token coming, but
that's fair.
I agree.
No, give me one token. Let me know what that token is. Oh,
yeah.
But interesting to see. Have you done anything on it? Piece I
was clicking around on it. I think like Multiplier. I've been talking to Loris, the founder, a bit. Multiplier is like it's like very degenerate. It's like you're playing like the multiplier game where it like rapidly increases the multiple return, and it's gambling with meme coins. It's like leveraged meme coin gambling. But it's a fun product. It's a very fun product.
I dropped a link to the C launch Dune dashboard on Abstract if you just want to bring that up. It's in our chat here in the StreamYard. I mean, it's not enough time since launch to really show it, but they have got some they've got about 9 million locked in their DeFi apps, which I don't think is the leading indicator here by any means. 223,000 distinct addresses have interacted with it. 500,000 contracts created. People are out here farming. Transaction fees in align with most other L2s. So, Dune dashboard to watch to sort of see how adoption goes.
Distinct addresses, yeah,
something to watch though, for sure.
For sure.
You want to choose one more?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know, Jess. Which one speaks to you?
I mean, I don't know enough about vectors to comment on it. They won't let me in. The category creation one is interesting to me just because that's a near and dear to my heart. But
yeah, let's go to that one. Yeah, please pull up the tweet. So it's just a good tweet from Boris Wirtz that I think. So he wrote, as an early stage VC, you need to invest in categories before they have a name. And I think it like, in so many of my conversations, people ask me like what I'm interested in right now. And I like never have an answer for it because they're expecting like categories. And by definition, when like something has a category name or it's a hot narrative, it's like way less interesting for an early stage investor. Like we're trying to find things that open our minds to what's possible. And we don't even really know how to describe it. And, people with unique insights and an obsession with some like, currently underlooked thing often. And, if today someone is deciding to build a meme coin launchpad, it's like very hard to believe that, they're doing this because they have some unique insight and an obsession with the opportunity here. And obviously that still happens, but as a general rule of thumb, like you want to be investing pre-narrative, pre-categorization.
Yeah, I mean, creating new categories is the job of a startup and the opportunity for investors. And yeah, man, we're just like lost in a sea of copycats. We're not even aware that we're just seeing a
Dude,
copycat.
anytime I see these like market maps, it's like the AI agent market map. It's just like, why the fuck are so many people building this? It's like that. This is the real brain drain, It's like all these people just trying to like build for the existing narrative and do the same copycat thing and try to like squeeze some attention and value out of it.
What do you think this dynamic where you can like that's called the meme coin dynamic or startup tokens where you can like bet on these things early? Do you feel like it feels like maybe there's one line here where that is the way you start to participate in new emerging trends and categories early, is because they're liquid from day one. But on the flip side, we have such a crypto is not interested in venture. Crypto is interested in being their own little mini hedge fund. And so I think that it's also an argument to be made that it's unlikely, like that those will just be more of like a representation of the current meta rather than a representation of the future. But I think it's going to be harder and harder to sort of tell them apart.
Yeah,
I mean, we talked about Pudgy. I sat around a table as that deal had just been done. And it was at in the bear market, and NFTs were falling off a cliff, and all this sort of stuff. And 1KX and a few other partners came on board and said, "We're going to go take a bet on this." And that is maybe another opportunity where there's clearly a category, but people don't believe the category is actually going to be big or exist in the future. And,
I think when something's a dominant narrative, it's like almost by definition in a bubble, right? It's like, when you look back at like the .com, it's like everyone was like entirely directionally correct on the impact that the internet was going to have, but completely overestimated how quickly that was going to arrive, or didn't. And we're just down to whatever. We're going to try to get in and out before this thing pops. But and I think that's largely the case with a lot of the kind of popular narratives of today. It's like, are crypto agents going to be a killer use case of crypto? Like, for sure. Are we in a massive bubble for them? 100% we are. Are there going to be a few winners? Are there going to be a few winners that come out of this? Like, probably. Picking them is very difficult.
Well, and the ones that are most likely to win have been building towards this insight prior to the pump. So I don't know. I mean, this is I think that crypto needs venture style dynamics more today than ever in maybe in the last 5 years at least. And I would say those dynamics are more about long-term patient capital, trying to go after really big things. And I think the biggest issue right now that still exists is that most people can't participate in those things.
Yeah,
you're stuck out. You get to wait to buy on buy when it goes public on Binance and watch yourself get dumped on. Like, this is the core issue. And so I see that as just a huge opportunity. I think people want to believe in something. People want to be a part of innovation and the emergence of new technology. People want to feel like they're on the ground floor, want to have upside in these sort of things, want to be supportive. We're just not giving them a reason to think long term right now.
Yeah, agreed.
Boris is a Vancouver guy, just so you know.
Yeah, he is. I knew he was Canadian. I didn't know where. I guess maybe last flag, like UniV4 got released today, and I think it's going to be pretty foundational to the types of things you can go build. I think it's a big deal, so it's worth understanding.
The number of teams that we have talked to that are doing something very cool that we're like, okay, but what if you went and did this on Solana? And they're like, yeah, we can't. Is more than a few, and that makes me think, oh, cool. There's going to be some. And a lot of what they're doing is specifically enabled by UniV4. So
a lot of people.
But I don't know about this. This is. I call people up. I'm like, tell me about this stuff, and they tell me about it, and I forget half of it. But
I think read the docs. I think Flaunch is a meme coin launchpad that launched today, or I think it's been out maybe for a bit, but their actual vision needed UniV4. So I think it's a pretty easy way to just feel the unlocks of the new protocol.
Tell me it's not Flaunch though. Is that like F launch or like what?
It's fair launch, but it's not a great name. But So like I think what hooks are is it really like opens up the programmability of like fees, LP positions, basically like all these like foundational properties of Uniswap you can now actually like extend and change. So Flaunch is using it so like devs can select the fees. The fees flow to are streamed to an NFT, so that NFT can actually be like fractionalized, or if someone like CTOs a project, they can actually get that NFT can be transferred and they can start earning the fees. There's a bunch of like cool buyback mechanics just built in using UniV4. Again, you need great memes launched and a bunch of liquidity network effects to step up here for this to actually work. But I think it just shows what's new about UniV4.
Innovation, baby.
That's gross.
Oh no.
Toes. Not bullish toes. Okay. We continue.
Flunch. That's kind of funny.
Oh my god.
Well done. Well done. All right. What's the top token here? What do we got? Maybe break free from their bond and curve shackles.
Does it tell us?
I mean, I think this an area that I'm very, very excited about is the creation of on-chain markets. And if you just think about like the innovation that Pump brought to the table was a fairer, safer way to launch tokens, to form new capital markets for these digital assets. But I think it was such a simple innovation, really. And I just think there's like a lot more that can be done here. And this type of thing, sort of like the functionality that UniV4 and, I think you see it in Jupiter and others really pushing forth like innovations around the capital formation around digital assets, and being where the transactions happen and where the tokens are issued, and being able to earn fees from that as a project, I think is absolutely essential to these models going forward. And there's a bunch of them coming out. It's going to be pretty cool to see.
Yeah, agreed.
Cool. All right. We're well over time. It's been so good at managing our time. Happy birthday to Vitalik. 31 years old today. What?
It's amazing. What a life.
Crazy. We love it. We'll talk about the news research thing next week once we have time to actually figure out what the fuck it actually is.
Thank God we didn't get to it.
Yeah. Like AI, cool. Let's go. If you're not subscribed to the C Club newsletter, you can do that at cclub.xyz. Cheryl, I continue to get messages from folks about the headlines that Cheryl's writing over the last two. Yeah. Obviously super skilled there. So gussy up your old inbox and subscribe to that. Is there anything else? We're cooking, baby. We're cooking. We got a bunch of things that we're working on. So soon.
Excited to talk about that. Yeah.
Awesome. Alrighty. We'll be back here Friday, 10 a.m. Pacific, 1 p.m. Eastern for Internet Explorers, where we try to get through the most interesting topics of the week, but fail miserably in doing so because we're too fascinated, interested, and confused to successfully do so. So until next week, see you on chain.
Peace.
Internet Explorers.